You were born guilty from the moment you took your first breath. Extinction is written in your genes. Scientists have discovered that the modern human brain has a neural circuit specifically designed for hunting animals 10 times your size. You never learned how to hunt, but when you see a giant animal, your pupils automatically dilate, your heartbeat automatically accelerates. This isn't fear, it's a hunting program left by your ancestors. Mammoths lived for 5 million years, 25 times longer than human history. Yet they went extinct just 20,000 years after encountering us. Their bones are engraved with marks of that era. You think you're watching a documentary, but you're actually looking at a criminal record in your DNA. Now scientists want to revive the mammoth. Do you think when they wake up they'll recognize your face? Mammoth. The name sounds like an ancient legend, but the truth is they went extinct much more recently than you think. 1650 BCE. The Egyptian pyramids had already stood for 1,000 years. China's Shang dynasty characters were carved onto oracle bones. Hammurabi's code had already been promulgated in Babylon. And right around that time, the last mammoth on Earth had just closed its eyes. What does this mean? It means your ancestors likely saw these giants with their own eyes. Mammoths aren't dinosaurs. They coexisted with us for at least 20,000 years. Humans built houses with their bones, carved flutes from their tusks, stayed warm with their fur, and filled their stomachs with their meat. 30,000 years ago, the first musical instrument made by humans was crafted from mammoth bone. Every song you listen to today, trace it back, and it's connected to the death of these giants. But here's the question. Why did such a powerful creature go extinct? First, size. An adult mammoth stood up to 3.5 meters at the shoulder, about the height of a story in a building. It weighed 6 to 8 tons. The largest imperial mammoth weighed over 15 tons, heavier than 2 fully loaded trucks. Their tusks could reach 4 meters in length, curving into spirals. One tusk would take 2 grown men to lift. Their bodies were covered in fur up to a meter thick, with a layer of fat 10 centimeters under the skin. A blizzard at -50 degrees Celsius felt like air conditioning to them. This creature had almost no natural predators. The top predators of the Ice Age, saber-toothed tigers, and cave lions, dared not easily provoke an adult mammoth, because an angry mammoth could use its tusks to toss any attacker into the air. How powerful were they? With one step, they could stomp a half-meter deep pit into the frozen ground. But mammoths weren't just walking war machines. They had families, emotions, societies. Like modern elephants, mammoths lived in family groups led by females. A typical herd was led by an older matriarch, along with her daughters, granddaughters, and great-granddaughters. Male mammoths would leave the herd upon adulthood, living alone or forming loose bachelor groups. The distance they traveled in their lifetimes could circle the earth twice. They migrated with the seasons each year, from south to north, from east to west, chasing grasslands and water sources. Scientists have discovered that mammoths' brain structures were very similar to modern elephants. This means they likely had complex emotions, could remember fallen companions, and would mourn lost family members. Modern elephants will caress the bones of their dead with their trunks, lingering at the death site for days, unwilling to leave. Mammoths were probably the same. Imagine this: a mother mammoth watching her child hunted by humans. How would she feel? They remember. They all remember. So how did they actually die? The answer is hidden on an isolated island. In the Arctic Ocean lies an island called Wrangel Island. It covers 7,600 square kilometers, perpetually covered in ice and snow. 10,000 years ago, sea levels rose, separating this island from the Siberian mainland by seawater. And a group of mammoths that couldn't escape in time were trapped on the island. In 2024, a study published in the journal Cell upended existing understanding. Scientists sequenced the genomes of 21 mammoths and found that the mammoths on Wrangel Island originally numbered only 8. 8 mammoths were stranded on this solitary island, completely isolated, with no outside help, no fresh blood, but they survived for 6,000 years. 8 mammoths, within 20 generations, bred to 200 to 300 individuals, then maintained that number until 1650 BCE. What does this mean? It's like a family building a 6,000-year dynasty on a solitary island. Even more astonishing, these stranded mammoths, to adapt to the island's limited resources, actively shrank their size. The mammoths of Wrangel Island were only 1.8 meters tall, weighing just half of a normal mammoth, about the size of a modern Asian elephant. They were using evolution to fight fate, Scientists once thought that this group of mammoths must have gone extinct due to genetic collapse from inbreeding. But the latest genetic analysis shows this was not the case. Their genetic diversity was indeed declining, but it was declining very slowly. Harmful genetic mutations were actually being gradually eliminated during reproduction. They were repairing themselves. This means that if there had been no accident, they could have continued to live on. So what was the accident? No one knows. This became one of the greatest mysteries in paleontology. Some say it was extreme weather, a storm of rain and snow, that covered the ground with thick ice. The mammoths could not find food, and all starved to death within weeks. Some say it was disease. Some virus spread from the mainland to the island, and spread quickly through a population with no immunity. Some still say it was humans. Although archaeological evidence shows humans reached Wrangel Island 400 years after the mammoths went extinct, it cannot be ruled out that a small group of humans arrived on the island earlier and killed the last giants, then left no trace. But regardless of the cause, one thing is certain: the mammoths on the mainland were indeed killed off by humans. There is too much evidence. Australia's megafauna 90% wiped out within 1,000 years of human arrival. America's great beasts, 80% died off after humans set foot on that land. The mammoth bones in North America are covered with cut marks from stone tools. In European cave paintings there are scenes of humans hunting mammoths together. Wherever humans went, large animals died off. This is no coincidence. This is a pattern. We used fire to drive them off cliffs. We used traps to catch their young. We stabbed their bellies with spears and waited for them to bleed to death. We roasted their meat and ate it, stacked their bones into houses, and carved their tusks into art. We were not surviving, we were slaughtering, and now the permafrost is melting. Mammoth carcasses keep being discovered. In 2012, a nearly perfectly preserved baby mammoth was found in Siberia, Russia. It was named Lyuba. It was only 1 month old when it died, possibly suffocating after getting stuck in mud. Her skin still had elasticity, and the outline of her eyes could still be seen. Mother's milk still lingering in the stomach. It had been asleep for 40,000 years. Looks like it died just yesterday. In 2013, scientists found liquid blood in another mammoth carcass, at -10 degrees Celsius. The blood had not clotted. It was still flowing. This showed that mammoth blood contains a natural antifreeze, a gift from evolution. These discoveries drove scientists wild, because blood means intact cells. Cells mean DNA. DNA means resurrection. In 2021, a US company called Colossal Biosciences announced a crazy plan: resurrecting the woolly mammoth. Here's how they plan to do it. Dig well-preserved mammoth remains from the Siberian permafrost. Extract the DNA. Then use CRISPR gene editing technology. Insert key mammoth genes into an Asian elephant embryo. Because mammoths and Asian elephants share 99.6% genetic similarity, just change that 0.4%. About 1.4 million base pairs, and you can give an Asian elephant long hair, thick fat, and cold-tolerant traits. This sounds like a sci-fi movie, but they've already made astonishing progress. In March 2024, Colossal announced they had successfully reprogrammed Asian elephant skin cells into induced pluripotent stem cells. This was the most critical step in resurrecting the mammoth. Because elephant cells are very special, they have 29 copies of the p53 gene, 14 times more than humans, making cell reprogramming extremely difficult. Scientists had tried for over a decade without success, but Colossal did it. In March 2025 they announced an even more groundbreaking result: the woolly mammoth mouse. That's right, they used CRISPR to knock out 7 genes in mice, causing the mice to grow long hair like mammoths. These mice have hair 3 times longer than normal mice, a golden brown color, curly and fluffy, looking like a hybrid of mammoth and mouse. The team produced 250 embryos, and finally 38 mice were born successfully. This proved one thing: mammoth cold tolerance genes can be replicated in living animals. Colossal's CEO said they plan to complete a mammoth embryo by 2026, and by 2028, via a surrogate Asian elephant, give birth to the first living mammoth. This mammoth is not a true mammoth strictly speaking, but a genetically modified Asian elephant. It will look like a mammoth, behave like a mammoth, and survive in the Arctic tundra. It can withstand temperatures as low as -50 degrees Celsius. This is the combination of a mammoth and an elephant. But the biggest challenge is not genes, it's the womb. The gestation period of an Asian elephant is up to 22 months, the longest of all mammals. Moreover, elephants have an extremely low reproduction rate. The success rate of artificial insemination is less than 10%. Colossal is developing artificial womb technology, hoping to bypass the bottleneck of surrogate elephants. But so far, no one has successfully used an artificial womb to raise any large mammal. This has sparked huge controversy. Opponents say, this is playing God. We drove mammoths to extinction ourselves, and now we want to bring them back. Is this atonement, or repeating the crime? Can the resurrected mammoths survive? The Arctic environment today is completely different from the Ice Age. The permafrost is melting. The vegetation is changing. A mammoth born in a lab, with no mother to teach it to forage, no herd to teach it to migrate. How can it survive? What's even more frightening is that elephants are highly social animals. Their survival skills are passed down through generations. Where the water sources are, where the dangers lie, this knowledge is etched into the memory of the herd. But the resurrected mammoth has no herd, no memory. It is like a baby thrown into the wilderness, lonely, confused, doomed to die. Someone also raised an even darker question. If the resurrection succeeds, who do these mammoths belong to? Do they belong to the colossal company, or to all of humanity? Will they be treated as protected animals, or be locked in a zoo for people to see? Will someone want the mammoth's ivory, just as people now want elephant ivory? Will we kill them again? Supporters say, bringing back mammoths can save the planet. The Arctic permafrost is melting, trapping vast amounts of methane and carbon dioxide. If all is released, the Earth's temperature will skyrocket. Mammoths can trample the frozen soil to prevent melting, and also promote grassland regeneration, absorbing carbon emissions. This is not about reviving a species, this is about saving a planet. Russia has a project called Pleistocene Park. They have already fenced off a 160 square kilometer area in Siberia, introducing bison, wild horses, and large herbivores like reindeer. Experimental results show these animals do compact the snow, lowering permafrost temperature, slowing down the thawing rate. Adding mammoths would make it even more effective, but ethicists counter. This alternative ecology is like putting a band-aid on a leaking Titanic. What we really should do is protect the species that are still alive today, instead of spending money on reviving species that are already extinct. Colossal has already raised $435 million. If that money were used to protect Asian elephants, how many lives could be saved? The debate continues. But science does not stop. In March 2025, Colossal announced their latest plan. Besides the mammoth, they also want to revive the Tasmanian tiger, the dodo, even the dire wolf. They have already successfully cloned an endangered red wolf pup, proving their technology is feasible. The sci-fi plot of Jurassic Park is gradually becoming reality. This is the first time in human history we have the ability to reverse extinction. But the question is, should we do this? The story of the mammoth is actually the story of humanity. We took 20,000 years to wipe out a species that ruled the earth for 5 million years. We used their bones for warmth, their meat for food, their tusks for carving art. We painted them on cave walls, and then erased them from the earth with our own hands. Now we want to bring them back. But if the mammoth really comes back to life, will it forgive us? Or will it remember us? Remember the face that hunted its ancestors. Remember the stone tool marks carved into its bones. Remember the extinction that lasted 20,000 years. Your genes carry a history of extinction, and its genes may also carry the memory of the murderer. Next time you go to the zoo and see an elephant, look into its eyes. You will find it looking back at you. In that gaze there is fear, there is anger, there is sorrow. That's 5 million years of memories. And we are the nightmare in those memories.